Hi, in this video I'm going to tell you how you can get a college degree for free. My name is Shad Sluter and I'm a professor of computer science and software development at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona. So I've been in education for a long time and I'd like to share with you some tips and secrets and knowledge that you should know about if you're interested in going to school and how you can do it for free or, in some cases, nearly free. So first of all, the choice of getting your degree for free might depend on the field that you choose to study. So if you're in a high demand field such as education, there are programs out there that will provide you with plenty of dollars just to pay off your school. The end result might be a lower salary, but you can certainly go through for free. So for example, the Teach Grant will provide you $4,000 per year if you're willing to work as a teacher in a Title I school. So your school debts, if you have any, will be paid off. You can also go through the military route. So famously, the GI Bill will pay your school if you finish your service. I think maybe 4 years of service with the military, and then you have this massive amount of money that you can spend in tuition. So every semester, I have a handful of students who are former military, and they're getting the career that they actually wanted to after they serve. If you are in a specialty program, some military branches will provide you with quite a bit of money. For example, if you're in an engineering school, you may have the U.S. Navy come to visit you and offer you an amazing amount of money, such as maybe $60,000 or up to $100,000 a year, just to stay in school and finish your degree. You don't even have to work yet, but you do have to promise that you're going to work on their nuclear submarines afterwards. So if riding around in a nuclear sub is not your idea of a career, then you might pass on that kind of a good investment. And you can see that there are other programs that they have if you are certain skills and they need you in the military. So military is a great choice if you have no money and you're willing to serve. Sometimes all you really need is an equivalent education instead of the degree. For example, you can go to YouTube or other tutorial sites and get really good content. So I just know of two that I recommend a lot. Free Code Camp and Khan Academy are nonprofit organizations that have more information than you'll ever get at whatever university you're at. And they're really high quality. And so I put my name down here as well because a lot of the coursework that I teach in class, I use YouTube as a way to deliver it. And you might want to look over your shoulder and join me. Now, of course, the disadvantage is you're not going to get any college credit for this, but you're going to get really high quality material. Another option is to join what's called a MOOC, a massive open online course. And so edX and Coursera and Udacity come to mind as three sources where you can just Google these and you'll find thousands of courses available from state universities and private schools that will give you the same content in video format that you would if you were in the classroom. And of course, you can convert your experience into an actual accredited degree if you're willing to pay them some money. But if you just want to go for free, you can get the material for nothing. Now, for some of you who are in universities and your professor's not that great of a teacher, then signing up for a MOOC might be a great way to get a tutor for free. So some of the features that you get in online sources are they're free or nearly free. You might spend $10 to $50 to get coursework. You're going to get high quality content. Seriously, you can get everything for free on YouTube that I teach in my school. And probably every other college professor could say similar things. However, you're going to get zero or low quality assistance if you're doing it this way. You're paying for the access to the professors if you're there. Another problem is that you have an unclear goal. So how do you know when you're finished? If you've taken a course in, let's say, Java, and you've learned web development and maybe a little bit of React, and then you start getting into algorithms, and you're really not sure if you need to keep going with new languages and new types of applications. And so sometimes this is unclear of when you're finished. So online, of course, without any kind of a directed schedule is going to only work if you're a highly motivated, self-directed student who has some clear goals in mind of what you want to accomplish. And so sometimes when you get a degree from a university, they tell you exactly which courses you have to take and maybe with a few options in it. But really, if you're online, you're kind of on your own. Now, let's say you decide, I have to go to school. I want to be on campus. I want to be in person. I want to see the professor. Where is the free cash? So 2 words that come to mind that you need to know about are the FAFSA application and Pell Grants. So FAFSA is the app. Pell Grant is the award. So FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And it's the first thing you should do after you complete your taxes. So you got to talk to your parents, who are likely the ones that are going to fill this out for you. And when you do, you're going to be able to apply for the Pell Grant. So depending on how much money you make, you could get over $6,000 a year in free cash just because you're poor. So poor doesn't necessarily mean that you're starving. It just means you're not rich, because it is really quite a generous grant. It decreases on a gradual scale depending on how much your parents make. So if you have 2 parents that are in professional jobs making $100,000 each, maybe you're not going to get much money from the Pell Grant. However, if you're not rich, then you're probably going to get a significant award. Now, how you spend that, of course, is going to determine whether you get free university or not. So don't go to a private school where they're going to charge you $50,000 to $100,000 a year. Pick something less expensive. For example, the community college in your state, if you're an American, is probably a very, very attractive price. So, for instance, I look at the Phoenix area where I live in Arizona, and the local cost for a local student is really very affordable. So, if you want to go full-time, taking like 15 credits or, a full load in a semester, the current price in 2022, when I'm recording this video, is $1,275 per semester. So double that and you're less than $3,000 a year. Now compare that to the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant covers double the cost of your school. So you can afford to pay for transportation and meals and books and whatever else might not be covered in your Pell Grant. So a community college is so low in cost that it is free. So when you hear presidential candidates or whoever talking about we need free college for every American, we already have free college for every American. You can see it in the price of tuition if you're willing to go to a community college. They have a wide variety of careers. So if you want to get into nursing, web development, auto care, air conditioning tech, medical assistance, dental, you can get 2 years of an education, which will give you an associate's degree, which will get you started on a pretty good job, or you can transfer it right into the university if you want to extend it further. And so my son, who is now an engineer, he went through the community college here in Phoenix, Arizona, and started off with a fairly good education in his degree. However, the one drawback that you're going to notice at a community college is that there are low-performing students all around you. So in my personal experience, there's a huge difference in who goes to these schools. So, for example, I'll tell you about a friend of mine who teaches there, teaching physics. Out of the 30 students, literally 25 are going to fail because 10 years ago they didn't do well in high school, and now they think that maybe they'll try again, and somehow that what they didn't learn in trigonometry and in algebra and in physics in high school is now going to come back to them? Not likely. So just because the schooling is accessible doesn't mean that you're going to succeed there. It's still a challenge to learn the stuff. And so the high school students that are in the honors courses are probably going to be far more prepared and successful than a person that's been out of school for 10 years. So you're going to be surrounded by people who are likely going to drop out. Literally, there's like a 20% completion rate at some community colleges. So it's free, it's almost free anyway, but that means that a lot of people try it and fail just because there's not a lot of personal investment in it. But I know students personally who have succeeded in high school with high GPAs, gone to community college, and earned a very good degree and moved on to the university after they were finished. So it kind of depends on you, but you're not going to be rubbing shoulders with the best and brightest of America if you're at a community college. So let's talk about an interesting option. It's called WGU. Now, I don't work there, and I am only endorsing it because of their unique status. WGU stands for Western Governors University, and it's a low-cost online school that is accredited. So you get a real degree. However, you're not going to have a typical experience because their philosophy is you are going to prove what you know rather than have us spend time teaching you. So rather than measuring the number of hours that you spend in a chair and listening to people like me, they're going to measure how well you can take exams. And so this fits really well for places that have certifications, such as IT certificates. So let's say you want to get your Microsoft IT certificates or your Cisco systems or maybe Google. And so these recognized industry certificates are the way that we can measure if you have learned anything or not. And so let's say you are super smart, you know the field so well, and you could sit down and take the exam today, then you can probably earn your degree in a very short time. Not 4 years, but maybe 4 months. So it kind of depends on you. So as I mentioned, it's self-paced. If you can complete it early, then you're done early. There's little instruction offered, however, since it's online. So I'm sorry to say, but online schools, whether you're at Grand Canyon University where I teach or at WGU or wherever, you're not going to get much instruction from your university professor. You're pretty much self-directed. Now, WGU charges $7,000 or something a year, which could be good if you're really fast, and it could be bad if you're a slow learner. So investigate it. It's an alternative if you really can't afford to go to school. Now, let's talk about boot camps, because that is an alternative that a lot of people do in technical degrees. So if you're into web development or programming or some kind of data analysis or any kind of a certification that is more technical, then a boot camp near you might be a choice. So some features of boot camps are they're very short, so maybe a semester or a year long, and you're done. So you pick a single subject. You're not going to have to take your usual credits such as biology or U.S. history or psychology or whatever. They're focusing on one thing. So if you're into web development, you're going to take a web development course. Now, I've noticed that about 50% of the time you're in a boot camp, you are actually with the instructor. So 50% of the time with instruction, 50% of the time where you're building a portfolio. So just because you think you're in the boot camp doesn't mean that you're always being taught by somebody. You're going to be mentored by somebody for a good portion of the time. So I've interviewed to work at boot camps and kind of gotten an impression of what they do there and talked to students that have graduated from there. So I'm not an insider on boot camps. However, I kind of know what they're doing. So the cost per day is pretty high. So you might spend $10,000 to $20,000 to go to a boot camp, and you get one semester worth of education, and 50% of that time is actually being instructed. So the cost per day is pretty high. However, your total cost is less than the university. So if you can manage to get a job with a boot camp, then of course you've got your goal, and you don't have to spend 4 years of lost time studying. It's non-accredited, so your degree doesn't exist, which may limit your future circumstances. So another source of money that you might think of is the company where you work. So let's say you go to a boot camp and you've got yourself your first job. Go ask your HR department or your boss and say, what does it take for me to go get a college degree? And you might be surprised that if you're a good employee and they want to promote you, they're going to pay for your school. So one class at a time, but it's free based on how well you perform at your job. So many people get their master's degree in this way, where they get their company to reimburse for their tuition. So let's say you do finish a boot camp. What's the ticket then if you don't have a degree? So you better have a good portfolio. So you have something to show that your project runs. You can build a mobile app, for example, and demonstrate how it works and how you designed it, what you learned along the way. So that goes a long ways in getting a good resume, because a portfolio is a demonstration of what you know. And it's just as good as a degree in some cases because it's practical, and you can talk at an interview to say, I know how I learned this and I can apply it to the job that I'm applying to. So a portfolio speaks really loudly. So even if it's not a college degree portfolio and it's a boot camp, it might be all you need. Now, another way to find out if you can get a free school is just ask. Now, everybody posts their tuition online. So for example, here at Grand Canyon University, you can see that a traditional semester is $8,000. So $16,000 per year is about the cost of a full price tuition. However, there are significant discounts. The university where I work wants to have smart students. So let's say you have like a 3.8 grade point average at your high school. Expect, I don't know, maybe $4,000 off of that. We are a Christian university, so if you've gone to a Christian high school, that might be another $4,000. So I don't know exactly what the policies here are, but the word on the street is about $8,000 discount is the average for our good students who are fitting the profile that GCU is recruiting. So you don't have to be a professional athlete to get a scholarship at a school, especially a private school. So if the price on the website looks expensive, ask and see what they can give you, because it doesn't cost you any money to ask and you might be pleasantly surprised. Now here is a scholarship calculator at Arizona State University. So as I mentioned, I live in Arizona, and this is kind of the default place you go if you're in the Phoenix area. It's a huge school, and they offer some generous scholarships based on your grades. So they have a calculator, and the school that you're going to might have a similar calculator. So you put in here what your grade point is, what your high school rank is in graduation. You take an ACT test or an SAT, and out comes a number. So look at the number for this very talented student. You can see that the total tuition here in the red line is $24,000 a year. But bump up 2 lines, and $14,000 of that was for room and board. So let's say you still live at mom and dad's house and you don't pay them any tuition or room and board, and all you're interested in is to know how much does it cost to attend this school. So what is 28 minus 14? So that's about $14,000 per year. And put a few more Pell Grants on top of that and scholarships, and you're getting into the area where it's not free, but it is certainly getting affordable. And the value for your schooling is going to be immense if you get the right degree. So I'm a big fan of all of the STEM programs. So whether it's science, technology, engineering, or medicine, you're probably going to be hired before you finish your graduation, and your salary is going to be very good. So for example, I'm teaching students right now on software development and computer science. It's not strange for them to graduate with $70,000 or $80,000 a year salaries with no experience. And so it's certainly a great investment if you get the right program. So let's say you pick a program and now you want to see how you can shorten it. Graduating early will reduce your cost. So here's a key term. It's CLEP, C-L-E-P. I think the acronym is College Level Exam Prep or Test or something like that. So back some years ago, I went to school and took all of the tests that they would offer. And so you can see that in ASU, for example, their policy is 60 hours of credit by examination. So 60 hours, that's like 2 years of school. So in my experience, I think I got like 36 hours of some classes. So I started as a sophomore, a second year student, before I even walked in the door, just by taking tests. So check out the university where you're going. So here is GCU where I work, and this is the list of classes, and I just took a snapshot. So you can see some of the basic things such as history, there's math and composition. I think there's some foreign languages, and so just taking these tests may help you get through school earlier. You don't have to pay tuition while you're there, and you start earning money the faster you graduate. Another way to shortcut your school is to go to your high school and take AP tests. So advanced placement tests are the challenging ones that are typically offered to seniors, the fourth year students, and you might find out that you're going to have free tuition by the time you get done with that school. Also, some schools offer dual enrollment. So if you take a dual enrollment class, let's say in chemistry or in math, then you're going to get credit for the university as well as the high school credit, and you'll be on a head start before you even graduate. So is university worth the time and the investment, even if it's not free? So I think the resounding answer to that question is yes, because first of all, you really need that to get your job interview. There are actual skills. It's not just a piece of paper. And so you're going to be a lot smarter by the time you're done. The connections that you make at the university with fellow students, with university help, with your professors, just the network of being around people in your field is going to be great. If you get a degree, you're far more likely to get promoted, and which will increase your salary. So in my case, not only did I get a degree in a university, but I went and got a master's degree, which made every job since then so much easier to interview for and qualify for. So if you want to be promoted, a master's degree might be in the works, and certainly a university bachelor's degree. Some jobs will not even be open to you without it. So for instance, if you're into nursing or into doctors, obviously, or some kind of a legal or education or technical field, engineers typically have to have that certified degree from an accredited school. So you can't even get into some places without it. So it's hardly even a question whether it's valuable or not. It's necessary. So to know if it's valuable or not, look at the long term. Here is a study from the U.S. Census, and they show a very close trend to how well your degree pays off. So in the long run, you're going to be a much higher earner toward the middle and end of your career by getting that degree. You can see there's a dip at the beginning where you're taking the opportunity cost and spending it in the 4 years that you're in school. But in the long run, it's a good investment. Another question that students frequently come with in school that I work at is, should I borrow money or should I take a part-time job? And I think the question should be answered by two things. What's your priorities? So priority one should be graduate on time with a valuable degree. So if you have to borrow money to concentrate on your studies, then I would recommend it. If your part-time job is causing you to fail or slip behind and delay your graduation, then you're not saving any money at all. And the second is, if you are getting a job as maybe your third or fourth year in school as an intern, then really that job is far more valuable than the paycheck they're giving you, because they're giving you experience with relevant skills. So let's take a look at a comparison. So if you were to get a $12 an hour job right now and you're trying to pay for your tuition, compare that to, let's say, your $40 an hour salary after you graduate. So if you were to multiply that by a full year's work, about 2,000 hours is the average work year, and that comes out to about $24,000 for the $12 job and about $80,000 for the $40 an hour job. So now ask yourself, if I had to borrow money to graduate on time to get that $80,000 salary, then really this question about paying for school is obvious. If you have to borrow the money, then do it if you're going to graduate. The problem that some students have is that they borrow money, fail to graduate, and now they're stuck with the $12 an hour job and they have debt. So make sure that you're willing and able to finish that degree. So there's your dad advice telling you how to get a free college degree or pay for the one that you're working on right now. So I welcome you to stay with me and look at my channel, because a lot of the information I give you will help you get the schooling you need or to help with you the school that you're in. So make sure you subscribe and come back again. I'll see you soon.